So many of you wanted me to play Cold Front because Cold Case had the word cold in it. And by the way, holy crap, so many people worked on this campaign. Even more if you go down to the special thanks list. Jesus, this map had more developers working on it than Vermintide 2 currently has.
Got him!
So, innovation. What does it mean? A new method, idea, or product? Cold Front does a lot of things that I've never seen in other custom maps, like having a snowstorm that acts just like the rainstorm in Hard Rain, except this one disables survivor outlines, which makes special infected more threatening.
No!
If that isn't a good enough example, how about when the map literally spawns a 5th survivor that has unique voice lines with a complete model with facial expressions who can fight alongside you? What about when the map has 2 different scenarios for how the finale can play out depending on your speed? Other campaigns may have these things, but I doubt they were done to this extent. But with innovation comes risk. When you try to do something different and stand out, sometimes it can completely blow up in your face and make you feel stupid for even attempting to try. With Cold Front, it nails almost everything it does. But there were some issues. No custom map is perfect, and if they were, this would be the most boring series of videos I've ever made.
One!
A fallen bridge has gotten in the survivors' way, so they have no choice but to abandon their boats and head into town hoping to find rescue, or at least other people. Right off the bat, I have to praise this map's visuals. It looks
fantastic.
And I don't usually say that for most custom maps. Here, I found a key, which I think I got pretty lucky with, because apparently there are 7 different spawn locations. I just so happened to get the most obvious one on the first try. This key will be useful later on. Here we can find one of the reskinned car alarms, which I would normally not be okay with, but the reskin actually makes it still look like a recognizable car alarm, so you won't be confused. I still accidentally shoot it though, which winds up getting Ellis killed by a witch that was just sitting here. See that is why I love the Ragdoll mod. As you can see, the witch has been reskinned, but she is still recognizable, so it's okay. Some of the infected also have unique models that make them fit in this campaign's aesthetic. I would have been content without these reskins, but it's a nice addition, I guess. And it's all recognizable. I feel like that is the most important thing when reskinning anything in a Left 4 Dead 2 custom map. But there is one big downside about all of these reskins. If you already have a reskin that replaces anything this map already replaces, I'm willing to bet that it won't work. Which isn't a deal breaker for me, but I think it can bother a lot of people since some of the most popular add-ons consist of reskins. If it were possible, a version of this map without any of the reskins would go a long way for those types of people. The attention to detail in this map so far has been so good. I can definitely see a whole group of devs working on this. If it were just one person, a map like this would have probably never been made. There is just so much to see around every corner. Not a single part of this map isn't detailed. I thought Daybreak was one of the best looking maps out there, but now I think I'm starting to see some competition, and it's just amazing to me how well optimized it is. I know jack shit about making custom maps, but I do know that the source engine has many limitations. But this campaign's performance has been great. No frame drops or crashes. Even the comments aren't complaining about crashing or performance issues, unlike Daybreak. Remember that key I got earlier in the chapter? Well, now is the time to use it. This white door can only be opened with the key you found. At first, I was confused when I opened it because it was just pitch black, kind of reminding me of the secret door in Cry of Fear. Once you take a few steps inside, you get teleported to this room. I did not know about this room beforehand. Seriously, I just got lucky that I managed to find this on my first try. In this room, there are tier 2 weapons, medkits, melees, and even laser sights. I was already fully set up for the rest of the campaign because of this room, which is pretty great. Moving on, the survivors find an evacuation center in the mall. Wonder where I heard that from. To enter, we have to activate this forklift to open the gate. Doing so also spawns in an infinite horde that is honestly quite difficult. This section without the horde is really short. You just have to run for like 10 seconds and then you're at the safe room. But the common infected drops on top of you from the ceiling, which is the most dangerous place they can attack you from, since you have less time to react, especially since they can't be shoved for a second after they drop down. But a bottle jar isn't necessary because of how short this section actually is. So it's a fair challenge. Once you make it past all the zombies, the safe house is right there. And that is the end of chapter 1. Very good start so far.
Fucking hell.
Turns out the evacuation center in the mall has been completely overrun by the infected. Figures. The power to this section of the mall can be turned on by hitting this switch. This will turn on all the lights in the next room and start playing mall music. Unfortunately, it's not mall music from Dead Rising, but that's okay. The power of editing can fix that. I actually missed this during my first playthrough, which is good. Gives you something new to discover on a second playthrough. The mall itself is another area that looks insanely good. Just look at this middle area. The glass on the ceiling has an opening with snow pouring through, and if you look below, a little bit of snow can be found. Also, the sandbags and crates visually tell you that there was an evacuation center here at one point. Another good attention to detail is the survivors themselves. They have a lot of dialogue in this campaign and talk almost as much as they do in the official campaigns, which I find pretty nice since a lot of maps don't do that either. Going through the mall leads us to the safe room. Well, that was a short chapter. Oh, never mind, it's just a tank. I do like this event, but I would have liked it more if this event happened later on in the level. When it does happen, you're only like 2 minutes into the chapter, which makes this way too obvious. Looks like a van is blocking our progress, so we have to push it. Somehow, Rochelle pushes it so hard that it goes at 8 miles per hour into a car alarm, which spawns a horde. After dispatching that, we continue following the signs until reaching the safe room. That was another great chapter, but so far there hasn't really been anything innovative in this campaign. It just seems like a standard run-of-the-mill, well-designed campaign with good graphics. But chapter 3 is when this map really starts to shine. After exiting the mall, we discover that the weather has gotten worse, and everything is pretty much covered in snow now. Most of the common infected you fight all have snow on them. These are also just reskins, but it does fit really well into this aesthetic. The survivors even have dialogue for the cold, which is very strange. I've played custom maps before with dialogue like this, but I never knew how and why this dialogue exists. The more you know. Earlier, I mentioned that there were snowstorms in this map, and well, here it is. It's basically 1-to-1 with rainstorms and hard rain, except it disables survivor outlines and does not summon a horde. I didn't even notice it disabling outlines because I play on realism, but still, I think this is a neat mechanic that works perfectly. The snowstorm itself also looks great. If this map were official, I would have been inclined to believe that Valve made this. Entering a warehouse, we turn on the lights, which causes a person in the building to speak.
Is someone there?
Wow, another person. Crazy, isn't it? This is the part where the 5th survivor comes in. His name is Mike, and he'll tell us that there is a safe room nearby, and he'll help us get there as long as we cover him. But me?
I had to experiment.
I've never played a map that did something like this before, so I wanted to see what would happen if you kill him. Turns out the game just ends and fades to black, as if you're playing Half-Life 2 and Alex gets killed. It's hilariously similar. I guess I should have expected that would happen, but I was hoping there would be an alternate way to beat the level should he die. In Left 4 Dead 2, the only way you get a game over is if everyone... No objectives can cause a game over besides the sacrifice, which I think is the only campaign that has a game over like this. Even then, getting that game over requires people to die. With that being said, you don't really have to cover Mike for that long, so it's not egregious or anything. And after he does open the door, he could safely die without getting a game over, though he won't appear in the next chapter if he does die. However, since I killed him before he opened the door, my game actually got soft locked. After the game over, Mike was still on my HUD, and he was actually moving around killing zombies. He even activated a tank who killed him, but when he died, the chapter didn't end, so I just had to... After respawning, he is still alive, so this time I rush ahead to save him, which I managed to do, but when I got to the computer, Mike just refused to interact with it. You're supposed to be helping me, but instead you're just wasting my time. I even checked the workshop page to see if this bug happened to anyone else, but it seems like I'm an outlier. Turns out my bots add-on seemed to cause this bug to happen. When I disabled it and purposely let Mike die, he was still on my HUD, but he actually went to open the door. So for anyone playing this map with a bot add-on, do not let Mike die. In fact, just don't die during this section period. At this point, I just accepted defeat and decided to just restart the whole chapter from the main menu. That really sucks because not only do I lose my weapons, but I also lose my stats for the credits, which I watch every time. I suppose it is my fault for killing him, but still, that soft lock hurt me a little bit on the inside. After the door opens, I get my revenge on Mike for soft locking me and haul to the safe house, ending the chapter. Chapter 3 is another amazing chapter, despite the softlock. To tell you the truth, getting that softlock is extremely unlikely. It should be no problem getting through that part first try, because Mike only takes a minute to open that door, and the map gives you a ton of supplies. It's almost hilarious. Fire rounds, explosive rounds, tier 2 weapons, medkits, pills. I mean, if you fail during this part,
You suck.
I'm not giving the map a pass. A softlock is a softlock, but at least it's very avoidable. An active radio in the safe house lets us know that there is another evac station nearby. So that's our next objective. But what about Mike? Well, if he died, there won't be any special dialogue about his death. It's like the survivors don't give a shit that he died. Damn, not even a mention. But if he lived, he'll just be sitting down right here and telling you that he'll be staying behind. As a gift, he leaves you supplies. Wow, this guy has a whole model with facial expressions, countless voice lines that basically makes him a new survivor in the game, and he only gets like, what, 4 to 5 minutes of screen time? I don't know about you, but if I voice acted that guy, I would be a little disappointed that I'm only in the campaign for like 5% of its runtime. What a joke. Well, that's what I thought, until I realized there is a way to make him come with you. In the last chapter, there is cola that you can find, which I did take note of, but I never picked it up because it doesn't highlight even when you get close to it. Anyway, you take it all the way to the safe house, and in the next chapter, Mike will follow you for the rest of the campaign, acting as a 5th survivor. But if he dies, you cannot resurrect him at all. Still, he acts just like any other bot, so I think it's worthwhile doing this Easter egg. You know, the more the merrier. With 8 survivors, you'd think the map would crash since it's already adding a 5th survivor, but when I tested it, the map actually seemed to be working fine, so I had 9 survivors, which is pretty crazy. The only problem was that Bill sounded like Mike.
Hey, I'm on your side.
But if you can look past that, 8 survivors do seem compatible with Coldfront, at least with the version I have, so that's another plus for the map. After leaving the safe house, we enter the town again and start looking for that evac station. The snowstorms are still in effect, so it wasn't just a one-time thing, which I'm glad it's not. But unfortunately, there is nothing to really say about Chapter 4. It is the shortest chapter, and it's also the least interesting. There's literally no events that happen in this level. It's quite literally running from point A to point B. The only thing that's worth mentioning is the hilarious way Nick died to this tank.
Shut up.
Or I guess also this Easter egg. The map's level design is still about as good as the other chapters, so it's not bad. It just simply isn't as good as the other levels. Even though you can take Mike with you, it seems like he doesn't have any special dialogue, so that's kind of a bummer. But I can let it go because just having a 5th survivor is good enough for me. You go on rooftops, then a train track, and then a road until you reach the safe house. Chapter 4 is definitely the weakest chapter. Maybe the developers were just getting burnt out at this point. On my first playthrough, I just found it so strange how suddenly the level ended. I quite literally said, "That's it?" Still though, it's not bad, just a little underwhelming, especially when you compare it to the last 3 chapters.
Number 5.
Well, thankfully, Chapter 5 is anything but underwhelming. The survivors reach an outpost that has been abandoned. However, there is a radio with soldiers talking, so we get their attention. They tell us that we have 5 minutes to get to the train yard for rescue, and they aren't lying. You do genuinely have 5 minutes to complete the finale. Otherwise, this happens.
Thought they were supposed to be getting us out of this shit.
Wow, I mean, come on, man. Well, time to start the whole finale all over again. Okay, it would be really funny if that actually happened. What actually happens is the finale turns into a holdout if you don't make it in time.
Aren't they supposed to be saving our asses?
Looks like there's been a change of plans.
Then a helicopter comes and picks you up. However, if you are fast enough, you just simply go across the bridge and enter the APC. I really love how the finale can change depending on your skill and speed. I don't think I've ever played a custom map that did a finale like this. However, beating the finale in under 5 minutes is pretty easy. Almost too easy, I think. You do fight a tank near the end, but even with that tank, you'll still most likely have spare time. I literally had to wait 2 minutes because the timer is just so forgiving. On my first playthrough, I managed to complete it in under 5 minutes despite going back to heal twice. I was purposely taking my time too. One more thing, the military won't blow up the bridge if you're standing on it, so they're not murderers at least. The finale is short, but the alternate ending makes up for it, and if Mike survived until the very end, he shows up in the credits, which is cool. Chapter 5 was a great way to end the campaign, and that's Cold Front. It's very polished, well designed, innovative, beautiful, and fun. You can't really ask for much more than that. It's a strong 9 out of 10. A map like this was close to getting a 10, but the soft lock in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 being a bit underwhelming are basically the reasons why I didn't give it a 10. But still, a 9 is good, so I'm definitely not saying this map was just fine. No, it was an amazing map. I definitely enjoyed myself, and I'm sure any of you watching would enjoy it as well. The campaign also supports versus, so if you like playing versus with your friends, you can do it in this map. Heck, the infected even have unique first-person view models, which I was not expecting. I probably missed a lot of stuff in this map, but that's okay. It just goes to show you how replayable it is. Cold Front is definitely a must play, and I'm not saying that because Jay's made it. I'm saying that because it's a good map.